The next item on the agenda is the status report from CNSC staff on the progress update on the Port Hope Area Initiative as outlined in CMD 16M 44.1 and 44.1A. The public was invited to participate either by oral presentation or written submission. October 3, 2016 was the deadline for filing the interveners. I note that we have a representative from Canadian Nuclear Laboratory in the room. Welcome, and we would like to start with your presentation, which I understand Mr. Herbert will lead the charge here.
Good morning, President Bender and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Kurt Keeler. I'm the Vice President of Decommissioning and Waste Management at Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. With me today from the Port Hope Area Initiative, on my left's Craig Hebert, the General Manager of PHAI Initiative, Glenn Case, Senior Technical Advisor. Behind me is Brian Tyers, Director of Project Delivery, Walter Van Veen, Manager of Technical Integration, B.R. Ravishkar, Director of Safety, Regulatory Compliance, and in the back row we have Sandra Fott, Manager of Programs and Compliance. For efficiency, during the rest of the presentation, you hear us refer to Canadian Nuclear Laboratories as CNL and the Port Hope Area Initiative as PHAI. We are pleased to be in front of you today to present a status update on PHAI's two projects in the municipalities of Port Hope and Clarington. In our presentation, I will define the corporate structure of CNL and give a brief history of PHAI. I'll turn the presentation over to Craig Hebert, who will update you on the progress of the Port Granby and Port Hope projects. Specifically, he will highlight PHAI safety and compliance and describe how PHAI engages stakeholders through its public information program. PHAI represents Canada's commitment to clean up and safety manage a total of 1.7 million cubic meters of historic low-level radioactive waste in the municipalities of Port Hope and Clarington. The waste is a result of the refining practices of El Dorado Nuclear Limited, a former Crown Corporation, which operated in Port Hope between 1933 and 1988. The federal government has committed funding of $1.28 billion to complete the PHAI project, which will result in significant environmental benefits. Throughout this presentation, you will hear a recurring message. Safety of the public, the workers, and the environment is the #1 priority. Since we last provided an update to the Commission in December of 2014, the corporate structure of CNL and PHAI has changed. As you have seen, and as I described in the presentation at the Commission's meeting in September, under the government-owned, contractor-operated model that came into effect in September 2015, CNL is now the licensee, operating facilities and undertaking activities under the licenses issued by CNSC. Under the GOCO model, CNL continues to meet all existing PHAI commitments in the legal agreement, as well as those commitments in the waste nuclear substance licenses and the environmental assessments for each of the projects. Prior to the GOCO model, PHAI was governed by a tripartite organization in which Public Works and Government Services Canada was responsible for major contract procurement and management. Now, CNL through PHAI is solely responsible for all aspects of the planning and execution, including procurement, award, and contract administration. CNL's management of contractors ensures stringent health and safety standards are maintained along with compliance with the CNSC license requirements. I will now turn over the presentation to Craig Hebert, PHAI General Manager, who will give a brief history of the project and provide status on both of the projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Good afternoon, or good morning, Dr. Binder and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Craig Hebert, and I am the CNL General Manager for the Port Hope Area Initiative. This aerial photo shows Port Hope's location on the Lake Ontario waterfront. The Port Granby cleanup site is also on the lake, as shown in the inset about 15 kilometers west of Port Hope. The former El Dorado plant was located in the Port Hope Harbor area at the center of the photo. Initially, El Dorado processing waste, comprised predominantly of soil with low levels of radioactivity, was deposited in planned sites in Port Hope, as shown by the red dots. However, waste was also diverted to a number of unplanned sites, such as ravines, roadways, and low-lying areas where waste was used as fill. In addition, waste was diverted to several hundred unplanned small-scale sites, not shown on the slide, including residential buildings, front and backyards, and driveways. The large red dot in the upper left corner is the Welcome Waste Management Facility. This site was used from 1948 until it was closed in 1954, after which all El Dorado plant site waste was taken to the Port Granby Waste Management Facility. During the latter portion of the 1970s, the federal government oversaw an initial cleanup of waste in Port Hope. This was followed by a province-wide site search from 1986 to 1996 for a long-term waste management solution to address the remaining waste. When this proved unsuccessful, community-based concepts to address long-term local management of the waste was developed. In 2001, a legal agreement based on these community concepts was signed by the municipalities of Port Hope and Clarington and the Government of Canada. That legal agreement resulted in the formation of the PHAI and laid out the terms for the Port Granby and Port Hope projects. I'll now give an update on each of those projects. Work on the Port Granby project has advanced considerably since last we presented to the Commission. To provide you with some background, the Port Granby project involves the relocation of approximately 450,000 cubic meters of historic low-level radioactive waste located in an existing waste management site on the shoreline of Lake Ontario in southeast Clarington to a new long-term waste management facility currently under construction, where it will be monitored and safely managed for the long term. The existing waste management site is characterized by sandy, porous soils, 30-meter high bluffs that are eroding, and 400 meters of shoreline that is receding, making it unsuitable for long-term storage. At the new facility, located about 700 meters north of the lake, the waste will be contained in a highly engineered above-ground mound designed to isolate it from the environment using multi-layer base liner and cover systems. Construction of the Port Granby project began in 2012. Preparatory work, including the upgrading of municipal roads around the project site, including Elliott Road, shown in the lower left of this slide, which leads directly to the site. Both the CP rail underpasses and CN rail level crossing were upgraded for the safety of construction traffic. Archaeological surveys were completed for land within the Port Granby sites that have been identified as having the potential for heritage artifacts. Observers representing area First Nations joined the archaeologist for one of those surveys. A critical element of our CNSC licensed activities is the advanced technology of the wastewater treatment plant, completed in 2015. Following a favorable CNSC compliance inspection in March of 2016, The plant was placed in service and has been treating water since April the 1st of this year, with results exceeding design performance objectives. The completion of this preparatory work cleared the way for the start of construction of the storage mound. The contract to build the engineered above-ground mound and remediate the existing waste site was awarded in July 2015 and was followed by intensive site preparation activities. Construction of the mound base liner system, including installation of the compacted clay liner, leachate collection system, and high-density polyethylene liner, was completed last month. I'm very pleased to report that CNL achieved a significant milestone when the first truckload of waste was placed in the mound on November 1st of this year, just last week. Waste transfer is currently ongoing, and as of yesterday, close to 20,000 cubic meters of historic low-level radioactive waste has already been relocated away from Lake Ontario and safely deposited in the mound. The waste is being transferred from the existing site to the new facility along internal roadways through the Lakeshore Road underpass, fulfilling a commitment made to the community that no waste will travel on municipal roadways while traffic passing through the area is being diverted along the Lakeshore Road detour while the project is underway. This series of aerial photos will give you a sense of the progress that has been made at the long-term waste management facility site. In this photo, taken in 2010, you can see the existing site on the lakeshore and the new site prior to construction in the center. In 2014, construction of the wastewater treatment plant toward the upper left in the photo was in progress. Site preparation for the engineered above-ground mound took place in the spring of 2016, and construction of the base cell liners and the Lakeshore Road detour and underpass were completed this fall. The waste is being remediated in a planned excavation sequence that addresses worker health and safety, overall site stability, and runoff management requirements. The site will be rehabilitated in a similar sequence, following in step behind waste excavation, and will be graded to maintain safe and stable slopes. Finally, the site will be seeded and planted so that it reverts back to a natural ecological condition. So looking at the overall schedule for the Port Granby project, you can see by the dotted blue line that work has just entered the waste excavation and placement stage, which will last approximately 3 years, with completion scheduled for 2019. The mound will be capped and closed by 2020. After that point, the long-term monitoring and maintenance activities, which are phase 3 of the PHAI, will begin. The Port Hope project is the larger and more complex of the two projects. It involves the cleanup of approximately 1.2 million cubic meters of historic low-level radioactive waste at major sites indicated by the blue stars, and the several hundred small-scale sites, residences, municipal properties, and buildings and vacant lots. As specified in the legal agreement, the project will also clean up industrial waste from non-radioactive sites indicated by the purple stars. Most of the historic low-level radioactive waste is buried in 3 areas. The Welcome Waste Management Facility, which functioned as a dump site for El Dorado from 1948 to 1954, contains about 450,000 cubic meters of waste. Approximately 200,000 cubic meters is located in the Highland Drive area, where the waste was placed in the former municipal landfill. And the waterfront and harbor area, where the El Dorado plant was situated, has about 500,000 cubic meters of waste, including 120,000 cubic meters of contaminated harbor sediment. Work completed since 2010 includes the construction of dedicated access roads to the site of the long-term waste management facility. A trial remediation and restoration of a residential property was conducted to provide experience and lessons learned for the broader property radiological surveys of properties in Port Hope. The full suite of 4 investigations was completed for campaign 1 of that survey, which I will describe in greater detail in subsequent slides. Radiological investigations were also completed on the 3 known sites which are privately owned properties with larger volumes of waste, and along the former treated effluent discharge pipeline. As in Port Granby, the advanced two-stage process of the new wastewater treatment plant, construction of which was completed last year, is critical to our license activities. This plant is now in the commissioning stage. We currently have the second of 3 major contracts underway at the long-term waste management facility, which is located on the site of the existing Welcome Waste Management Facility and adjacent lands. The engineered above-ground mound will have 4 cells that will safely isolate the waste by encasing it on the top, bottom, and sides with a multi-layer base liner and cover system. In March of this year, Cell 1 site preparation, the first major contract, shown in the upper left, was completed. Approximately 45,000 cubic meters of contaminated soil was removed from the footprint of the mound and stockpiled on site to develop a clean construction zone for Cell 1 and the site support buildings and clean access for workers and construction vehicles. The second major contract, construction of the first cell itself, is currently underway. Excavation of the cell, which will eventually hold the 450,000 cubic meters of waste currently on the site, is complete, and compaction of the high-quality clay liner that forms one layer of the base is in progress. Additional base liner materials are being stockpiled and covered on the site, ready for use as soon as work can begin after any shutdown required over the winter conditions. The third major contract for the construction of the remaining cells and operation of the facility is currently in the procurement process and will be awarded early next year. One of the unique and more complex aspects of the Port Hope project is the property radiological survey. Approximately 4,800 public and private properties will undergo radiological investigations in 5 campaigns. The survey is being done to confirm where waste is in the community before the cleanup begins. And equally important to the community and property owners, the survey will confirm where the waste isn't. 90% of properties are not expected to require any cleanup. The radiological investigations in the survey include 4 tests: interior radon, interior and exterior gamma, and exterior borehole drilling and soil sampling that take us into the front and backyards, living rooms, and even the bedrooms of the community in Port Hope. Port Hope residents have been extremely supportive of the property radiological survey and have willingly granted access to their properties, 4,000 of which are currently involved in some aspect of the survey. To date, Campaign 1 is complete. Campaign 2 testing is complete with final reporting in progress. Campaign 3 field work is underway, including the exterior gamma surveys and boreholes. Campaign 4 radon monitoring is in progress, and Campaign 5 properties are in the planning stages. The survey has also assessed about 22 kilometers of road allowances for the presence of historic waste. As a result of the work completed so far, more than 420 property owners have been issued compliance letters indicating that their properties meet the PHAI cleanup criteria and require no further investigations or monitoring. Currently, approximately 350 properties have been confirmed to have historic low-level radioactive waste, and these property owners have been notified that the waste will be cleaned up at no cost to them once the cleanup begins in Port Hope in 2018. As the Commission is aware, the cleanup of the Port Hope waterfront involves work under both the Port Hope project and Cameco's Vision in Motion project. As we move towards the start of remediation in 2018, coordination between CNL and Cameco is increasing significantly. Regular meetings of CNL and Cameco joint technical, regulatory, legal, and communications working groups identify opportunities for greater efficiency in cleanup activities and ways to minimize the community impacts of the work both projects will involve in the waterfront area. A joint Port Hope project Vision in Motion public information session held at the end of September was well attended and provided a forum to communicate PHAI and Cameco project activities and answer questions from the community. As construction nears, further public sessions will be planned. Let's take a look at the Port Hope project schedule. The dotted blue line is where we are today. You can see that the property radiological survey, shown by the blue bar, is about 50% complete and is expected to wrap up in 2019. The long-term waste management facility, the upper green bar, continues to advance with mound construction activities currently underway. Remediation and restoration of the major sites and residential sites, the rest of the bars, are scheduled to begin in 2018. The mound will be capped and closed by 2022 and will enter long-term monitoring and maintenance in 2023. The safety of our employees and the public is an overriding priority for CNL and the PHAI. We have a target zero philosophy regarding health and safety events, lost time incidents for workers, and adverse impacts on public safety. These same goals apply to all CNL activities. I want to assure the Commission that as the licensee, we fully understand our responsibility for safety and protection of workers and the environment, and that these are our highest priorities. Our responsibilities also extend to our contracted workforces. The Stepping Up to Safety at PHAI program is one example of how we are raising the bar when it comes to reinforcing our safety culture, ensuring safe work practices, and preventing injuries and keeping our facilities and equipment safe. Since its launch in the spring, over 600 workers, including CNL employees, our contractors, and some municipal staff, have taken a one-hour awareness session that focuses on our rules to live by and the 3 construction-specific rules pertaining to traffic safety, working around heavy equipment, and trenching and excavating. At the end of the session, all participants receive this pocket handbook for daily reference. We work closely with local emergency services to ensure that personnel are knowledgeable about PHAI site conditions and that all staff, including our contractors and our own, are well prepared to act quickly, effectively, and efficiently to any emergency. The upper right photo shows our property radiological survey contractor safely conducting work beside a public sidewalk. CNL contractors are always held to the highest standards when undertaking work in the community. As much of the work for PHAI is being done by contractors, we have implemented a robust compliance oversight program to ensure that both our CNSC license requirements and CNL expectations are being met. We have a team dedicated to conducting regular compliance oversight inspections in areas such as radiation protection and safety, and have implemented CNL corporate contractor management requirements. Protecting the environment is a foundational tenet for CNL and the PHAI and is reflected in our own comprehensive environmental monitoring plans, as well as our requirements for contractors to submit environmental protection plans for CNL review and acceptance. Through the PHAI biophysical effects and environmental monitoring plans that specify monitoring activities for the aquatic, surface water, groundwater, air quality, and terrestrial components of the environment, CNL measures the effectiveness of efforts to minimize efforts from construction and cleanup activities. CNL continues to manage both operations and project activities in accordance with its CNSC licenses. As this slide provides highlights from our annual 2015 compliance reporting, which noted that all radiation exposures remained below regulatory dose limits, there were no lost time injuries, no areas of concern in EA follow-up and operational monitoring, no emergency events that affected the PHAI, and PHAI fitness for service was maintained. CNSC staff has reviewed CNL reports, including the quarterly and annual compliance reports, and has confirmed that CNL reporting satisfies all license requirements. This slide also lists some unplanned events that were reported to the CNSC and other regulators as applicable, and remedial and corrective actions were implemented at each of these events. The pipe break at the existing Port Granby Waste Management Facility, which did not exceed monthly discharge limits, was publicly disclosed on the PHA website, and the information shared with members of the Port Granby Project Citizen Liaison Group. Stakeholder engagement and communication are key to the success of any project, and in the case of the PHAI, also fulfills commitments made under the legal agreement, the environmental assessments, and the CNSC licenses. CNL regularly liaises with elected officials and staff at the host municipalities. As part of a framework for dialogue to keep municipalities abreast of PHAI plans and progress, CNL staff meets weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and quarterly with administrative and project-dedicated staff from both municipalities. In addition, CNL provides regular project updates to municipal councils, committees, and staff. CNL and Canada, represented by AECL, continue to work diligently with the municipality of Port Hope towards the resolution of all municipal issues. 5 issues have been successfully resolved. Ongoing negotiations continue for several issues, and one, the Highland Drive landfill, is now in mediation, which is part of the confidential dispute resolution process under the legal agreement that governs the PHAI. The principles for a successful partnership, signed in 2015 by AECL and the municipality of Port Hope, signaled a renewed effort by all parties to move forward on the issues so that the Port Hope project can be delivered on time and on budget while minimizing the negative impacts to the community. CNL also has regular interaction with other governmental agencies such as regional health units, the Ontario Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change, and Environment and Climate Change Canada through forums, bilateral meetings, and the joint regulatory group led by the CNSC. Following a comprehensive review of the PHAI Property Value Protection Program by Natural Resources Canada, which included extensive public and municipal consultation, changes to the program came into effect on June 1st of 2016. These changes, which reflect recommendations made by the federal government, make the program clearer and easier to use for the majority of claimants and have the support of both municipalities as well as the real estate sector. The transition from the previous to the current program was seamless, and feedback from claimants has been positive. Since June 1st, the PHAI has received 6 claims under the revised program. 2 have been completed so far, and 4 are still in processing. The PHAI Public Information Program sets out the protocol for ongoing, timely, and accurate public communication about the activities of the PHAI. A variety of communication products and outreach activities ensure the local community and broader public have up-to-date information about the Port Hope and Port Granby projects. The PHAI Public Information Program is guided by CNSC Regulatory Document 99.3 and is consistent with CNL's Corporate Public Information Program. PHAI public attitude surveys are also used to measure the effectiveness of the Public Information Program. Results on the previous surveys conducted in 2014 showed a high level of awareness of the PHAI, 96% in Port Hope and 87% in Port Granby, with 83% of the respondents aware of the radiological investigations at residential properties in Port Hope. Surveying is currently underway again in Port Hope and the Port Granby areas. Through this short video, I'd like to share with you highlights of the PHAI's Public Information Program.
The Port Hope Area Initiative, also known as the PHAI, is one of Canada's largest environmental remediation and restoration projects. Since its launch in 2001, the PHAI has been developing and maintaining strong stakeholder relationships within the communities of Port Hope and Port Granby. At the Project Information Exchange in the PHAI Management Office, staff discuss the projects with visitors, answering questions and addressing concerns. Printed material provides extensive project information. Models of the Port Hope and Port Granby long-term waste management facilities are also on display. The PHAI website is a virtual project information exchange, presenting information on all aspects of the Port Hope and Port Granby projects. The PHAI's Facebook and Twitter accounts feature brief project bulletins that include links to the website for more detailed information. PHAI staff give presentations and tours about project activities to a variety of stakeholders, including all levels of government, community groups, service clubs, educational institutions, industry, the business community, and international delegation. Project updates are regularly provided to First Nations and Aboriginal groups, focusing on areas of expressed interest such as environmental protection, economic development, and heritage resource protection.
I think that you've done a really good job from my perspective, and reaching out to the First Nations has been positive, it's been proactive.
The Port Hope Project and Port Granby Project citizen liaison groups provide regular forums to exchange information about each project. These groups bring together representatives of key sectors such as business, health, the environment, conservation, and community life.
What I really like about the Citizens Liaison Group is I feel like the PHAI Management Office are using it as their measuring stick. Participating in the Citizens Liaison Group, I really get access to a lot of fantastic information. They're really interested in residents, and as a lifelong resident, I'm very invested in the project. And they really share a lot of information. And as I said, they're interested in the feedback from the committee. They want to know everything that they're hearing, on the ground floor and from the community, because that's really because it is a direct measure, temperature, a direct route to what people are thinking.
Public information sessions are held to inform the communities about upcoming PHAI work and receive feedback from the public.
The open house would have been an effective outlet for families to participate and come and learn. I think it was effective that the students had an opportunity in the daytime. I think the students are a bigger voice to their parents than any kind of advertising you can do. But yeah, she did attend the open house, and I think it spurred more of an interest to want to take the environmental high skills major at the high school.
Residents living in close proximity to PHAI project activities are notified in advance about planned work and updates to the schedule or nature of the work. Notification approaches include phone calls, emails, and door-to-door visits. Engagement with key stakeholders also occurs through PHAI-led working groups focusing on municipal communication, business communication, emergency response, and local and regional public health organizations. The PHAI builds and maintains relationships with media to position the PHAI Management Office as the primary source of accurate and timely project information. The PHAI's commitment to deliver a comprehensive public information program ensures the local community and all interested stakeholders remain informed and knowledgeable as the Port Hope and Port Granby projects progress.
In summary, the PHAI is meeting Canada's obligations under the legal agreement and CNL's obligations under the environmental assessments and CNSC licenses. We are committed to continue working collaboratively with municipal, regional, provincial, federal, and other stakeholders to deliver the PHAI's comprehensive public information program. And I want to re-emphasize that CNL, through the PHAI, is and will continue to conduct all work with safety as the overarching priority while ensuring protection of the environment. Thank you, President Binder and members of the Commission, for this opportunity to update you on our work that continues to be a significant source of pride to everybody involved in the PHAI. Thank you.
Thank you.